Thanks for joining us. I'm Glenn Mills. It is time to go inside Utah politics. We do begin this morning with former state representative Eric Hutchings. He's here to discuss the clean slate law he sponsored back in 2019. Hey, welcome back to the show. Good to have you.
It's good to be with you. Thanks.
Yeah, it's been a while. Let's get right into this. We talked a lot when this bill passed a few years ago. Give us an idea when it comes to the clean slate portion of it. What does this law do?
You know, Utah's worked really hard for a long time to try and give people an opportunity to get off of a bad track, get their lives back, get back to a place where they feel like they can have some hope, maybe for a better tomorrow. And it's been hard for them to do that. It's been complicated, it's expensive. And so the idea was brought up and about doing clean slate, which basically means that if you have a bunch of low-level, I jokingly refer to them as bonehead offenses, that you have to go through the process of filing the papers, paying the fees, going to court, all that kind of stuff, just for the folks at the state to say, yeah, we agree, happy to get rid of that for you. This process will actually make that automatic.
Okay.
And it's truly unique in the nation. It's really, really neat opportunity to help people.
So that went live on Thursday. Why was it a few years later? Was that how it was set up from the beginning, or were there some challenges that kind of bumped it off?
Oh, yeah. In fact, it really surprised me when I was first asked to work on the legislation. We had done a couple of other pieces to help people that had maybe a little bit more complicated legal histories to be able to get an expungement. But when we brought up this one, the biggest challenge was just the sheer volume. I had no idea. Hundreds of thousands of criminal records. And to figure out how to process all of that, especially when some of them go back to the, not that far back when we were just paper records. The simple logistics of being able to go through, find that many records and be able to get rid of the right ones in the right way. Yeah, it was just a massive undertaking, very expensive, and it just took a while to sort it out, but we're finally there.
Okay, so much to dig into here, but the bottom line is it should be easier now for those seeking to go through the process.
Yeah, because historically there was a very little window. You could only have a certain number of offenses and they had to be a certain type of offense. Otherwise you didn't even qualify. And we've changed that over the years and opened that up a lot. But the problem has still been that you had to file for each one and you've had to file in each jurisdiction, and it just made it a mess. And especially when we realized if anybody asked us if we would expunge those, we all agreed that, yeah, of course we would. Well, then why make people jump through the hoops? Let's just get it done. Let's just help people get their lives back and get their records cleared up and help them get jobs and find a house. And it's going to be a great thing.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about that. You talk about these little offenses, but they still create a big problem for people who have them on their record. Talk to us a little bit, because you've met people who've gone through the process. Talk to us a little bit about how much it can be challenging, or how challenging it can be for someone who's going through that, trying to do the basics of life.
You know, years ago, when everything was paper records, you didn't have access to somebody's history like you do now, but now that everything's digital, everybody knows everything. And the problem with that is two things. One, it makes it really hard for you to be able to tell somebody, look, I'm not that person anymore. You know, I've cleaned my record up, I'm doing all the right things, I'm a really good person, give me a shot. It's hard to convince somebody of that, and Clean Slate will help that because it's going to eliminate a lot of those records. But also, in my opinion, the most important thing is people need hope. I mean, if you're out there trying to work your way back from making some mistakes, and yet you feel like no matter what I do, it's just going to be a mess, and it's going to be a mess my whole life, and I'm going to struggle with this and be labeled with this and have this scarlet letter for my whole life, you start losing hope, you just give up. And then you actually do become a bad guy, because what other options have you got? And this is going to put hope and options back in people's lives, and they deserve that. And people aren't typically bad. They just sometimes do bad things. And this isn't for people that have done something bad. Clean Slate does not do, if you've done something, if you've hurt somebody, or if you've done something really icky, this doesn't cover that. These are the types of offenses where there were no victims. You know, you just did something wrong, but you made restitution for it, you made up for it. There's other processes for that, but clean slate handles the kind of easy, straightforward stuff.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. You've met people along the way who have gone through the process. And so even though it's, you've launched a new element of the clean slate law, I guess is, for lack of a better term, the way to put it, people have still been able to go through the process since the bill passed a couple years ago. You've met some of those people, introduced them to me, and we've done stories on them. Talk about what you've seen through people who have been able to successfully navigate the system to this point and how it's changed their life and what you've been able to notice.
You know, you do a lot of things as a legislator, and every once in a while you get to do something that you feel like really, really makes a difference. And I have seen people that felt like they were never, ever going to get a good job, they were never going to have a decent place to live, that are now buying homes, that are, some of them in dream jobs, going to college, getting degrees, being able to work in fields they never could before because you just had, a lot of people, if they've ever had a criminal record, are super familiar with the fact that you do a job application and it says, have you ever been arrested or convicted of a felony? And the second that you mark that box, you're done. Right. Especially in this world where everything's automated on resumes. But the biggest impact that I've seen, honestly, is for people that are in substance abuse treatment, and they're trying to recover from that. And too many of them believe that, you know what, why fight, why work so hard when it's really not going to make a difference. I'm going to get out of treatment and nobody's going to give me a chance at a decent life anyway. And now they do, and now they can have that, and you see it in their eyes and you see the hope, and it just turns a light on at the end of the tunnel. Yeah. It's been great. Yeah,
I know exactly what you're talking about because, as I mentioned, you've introduced me to some, and it's amazing to see them get that second chance and to make the most of it. So Eric, someone sitting at home who may qualify for this, or someone who knows someone that may qualify for this, what do they need to do? Where do they go from here?
So Salt Lake County has done an amazing job, actually, of really getting passionate about this issue, and actually has an office where we have an expungement expert there that they can get help from, so you can look that up at Salt Lake County. But just Google expungement in Utah, or call the courts, or you can call the Bureau of Criminal Identification, which is where we keep all those records. So easiest way is just going to be to Google it, and don't go to any of those that say they'll help you clear up your record. It's not necessary. That's what this is all about. Just look at the courts or under the Department of Public Safety, under the Bureau of Criminal Identification, and it'll give you all the instructions, everything you need to do. But this clean slate part, the beautiful thing about this, Glenn, is that a whole bunch of really low-level offenses, too many fish in the boat, all kinds of things like that that people have been dealing with for years. You're not even going to have to address it. We now have in place a law that will actually take those, kind of like your credit report. And over time, if you've done everything that you're supposed to do and you've paid your restitution and you've made up for your wrongdoing, it's just going to go away and it's just going to disappear.
All right. As I mentioned, you're a former state representative. You passed this bill a few years ago, but you found it very important to stick with it and to see it through. Why is that?
Well, there's, every time you do something really big, you don't realize what the hurdles are going to be until you start. It's like when we first started this and realized just how many offenses that this would address in a year. But at the same time, you also find out that, you know, you open up the window a little bit wider to let more people into the expungement process, only to learn more about that and realize that things that we were worried about years ago just really aren't that big a deal. And so there's actually another bill going through the session this year in the legislature to open that up even more and to give even more people opportunities. And those are for the ones that have complicated cases. The clean slate is for people that have pretty low level, pretty innocuous kinds of offenses. But now that we've done it and tracked it over time, we're just not afraid of it like we used to be. Right. We were worried that people would commit offenses again if they got expungements. And now we have a much better idea of what to worry about, who to worry about. And so we go in periodically and just make it better and give people better opportunities.
Well, we appreciate your work and the update this morning because a lot of people are wondering how they can take advantage of this. So thanks so much for being here. Appreciate it.
You bet. Thanks for the invite.
Still to come, an elite